All right, but what's more important is that you get the information and take action on it. So that's good.
I had to take notes, but I gotta back up because if I can do this, it's gonna wiggle the camera. Oh. Did you go to the Angela Davis?
He was a presenter last night.
I'm honored to introduce our next guest, Rebel Fagin, as part of Social Justice Week. Thank you all for being here. As a longtime political activist and writer, Rebel works with Occupy Sonoma County and North Coast Coalition for Palestine. He takes part in America's first bilingual radio station, KBBF. He is the president of Peace and Justice Board of Directors and a writer for Peace Press. As a retired teacher in economics, government, and history at the high school level, Rebel now has a main goal to inspire people to get up and take action, to take part in participatory democracy. Please give a warm welcome to Rebel Fagin.
Thank you, everybody, and welcome. My name is Rebel Fagin, and I represent Occupy Sonoma County. This isn't about me, it's about we. We're a local local social justice organization with a current focus on environmental activism. We have an Earth Action campaign. We deal with environmental stuff. We meet at the Peace and Justice Center, 467 Sebastopol Avenue in Santa Rosa from 7 to 9 on the third Monday of the month, and y'all are welcome to join us. Much of our focus is on educating and inspiring people if we can. We hold about 5 events a year, champion 2 or 3 campaigns, and we have an important one coming up. 3 years ago, Occupy Sonoma County organized a collection of climate activist organizers. So it's a collective of representatives of various groups into the Sonoma County Climate Activist Network. We will be holding a community summit on March 15th at the Oddfellows Hall in Santa Rosa from 1:30 to 6. It's free, and we do ask for donations, of course. On Pacific Avenue in Santa Rosa, that's where the JC and the high school kind of butt into each other. That's Pacific. It's just half a block east, not even that far. What we're going to do is develop local actions to address climate change. There's already been some of that. We're going to do more. You can watch videos of our teach-ins that Occupy does and much, much more by going to occupysonomacounty.org or find us on Facebook or Twitter. In addition, we educate folks online, speak in public, do media interviews, table at events, publish articles and press releases, and create videos. I'm going to show you one of our videos now as both an example of grassroots activism and a starting point for today's discussion. Wait a minute, this doesn't all belong in here. Wait a minute, this doesn't all belong in here. Wait a minute, this doesn't all belong in here.
But it's paper, and
Not everything that gets put in the recycling belongs here. Now this cup is made of waxy cardboard. Wait a minute, this doesn't all belong in here.
it doesn't. But it's paper, and I put it in the recycling can.
Not everything that gets put in the recycling belongs here. Now this cup is made of waxy cardboard. And if we were in San Francisco, Berkeley, Oakland, and the immediate Bay area, I'd put it in the compost. But in the North Bay, in Sonoma, Marin counties, it goes in the landfill.
Why is it different?
They've had over 30 years to develop the facilities in the city, whereas here, it's been less than 5. They'll get there, but it's going to take some time. Now let's look at your spoon.
It's compostable.
Yes, it is. It even says compostable on it, and that's necessary because since summer of 2019, all plant-based plastics, which are 91% plant material, still 9% plastic, all that can be composted need to say compostable on the item before you can compost it. And if we were in Oakland, Berkeley, San Francisco, I'd put it in the compost. But compostable plastic, like bio bags and stuff like this, in the North Bay, goes in the landfill. Traditional plastics, silverware or plasticware utensils, and even straws, goes in the landfill. Just the shape and size, they get in the way. If you really want one-time use things, go with bamboo or pine. You can get plates, knives, spoons, all of that. Because those, when you're through with them, you can compost them virtually everywhere.
So it's all landfill?
Not quite. We can save the lid. All I got to do is pull a napkin out of the compost, wipe down the lid so it's good and clean. Now I can drop it in the recycling and return the napkin to the compost. Thanks, Compost Ghost.
Hold on. Recycling is good and composting is better, but reusing is the best. This is for you to use again and again. To complete the kit, here is a mess kit for you to use, complete with bamboo silverware and a bamboo straw. Thank you all for helping me learn how to reduce greenhouse gases through the choices I make.
Avoid disposable culture.
Embrace reusable culture. Reduce, reuse.
Recycle. Compost. Yeah, it is at occupysonomacounty.org. Let's deconstruct this now. For starters, anything we can do, you can do. Do it yourself ethics. You know, all you need is somebody who can write, somebody who can film, and the will to make it happen. We made this with 3 specific goals in mind. First, keep it short, keep it entertaining, and primarily keep it educational, especially educational. All right, your first, if you wish, your first personal act in reducing your greenhouse gas contributions is to deconsumerize yourself. Capitalism is the leading cause of climate catastrophe. We have been trained since birth to buy, 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 feeling depressed, go shopping, get a consumer high. For a while, then it wears off, and you gotta go shopping again to feel well. Can anyone here spell addiction? These behaviors do not serve us. Stop it. Look, my neighbors get packages from Amazon every week. I buy very little. There is no difference in our level of happiness. Buying stuff will not make you happy. So your first step in reducing your carbon footprint is to buy less. This not only frees you from consumer addiction, but you also quit feeding the machine that is killing you. We're going to give you a really good example of that right here, I hope. Yes.
We would like to invite you to come to the Mall of America. We have 100 rooms. We had this wonderful idea of sort of a Anarchic Mormon Tabernacle Choir.
The once sleepy town of Bloomington, Minnesota, a monument for the ages, has risen with their own police force, an amusement park, a wedding chapel, and the first ever college campus built inside of a mall. Over 4 miles of storefront, with more than 42 million visitors per year. That's more visits than to the Capitol, Mount Rushmore, the Grand Canyon, and Disneyland combined. Behold, the Mall of America.
Should I just get up there?
To join us and many other Americans in saving business from the apocalypse.
You're gonna stop protesting. You're gonna leave, okay? You gotta walk up front. We're just looking everywhere. You never know when we're gonna show us. Fine, but you can't be here today. You gotta stop shopping. Your consumption's getting out of control. Hallelujah, I wasn't nice.
Try it now. It's never too late.
I'm sorry I yelled at you. I'm sorry. I get angry at police pretty easily. We'll see each other again somewhere.
I invite you to be audacious. Reuse. I buy used music and used clothes. They serve me well. Hand-me-downs both Hand-me-downs both defeat capitalism and build community. Now, when my son was little, we had a neighborhood Lego set that was passed on from child to child as they outgrew it. When we got it, there were 2 big boxes, more than I could provide. When we passed it on, there were 3. Passing the boxes on built community. See, to do this, we had to talk to each other, to care about each other's children. In short, to be neighbors. This is the antithesis of sitting in your room and ordering things from Amazon and waiting for your own private personal box that you can open in private. Reduce your consumption. Withdraw from corporate America as much as you can, and don't toss it. Repair it, reuse it. Look, we got a lot to do that with. Locally, we have Community Bike in Santa Rosa. They will help you repair. They have know-how and they have tools. You do the work. There are ongoing monthly repair cafes sponsored by Sebastopol Time Bank, Chimera Arts, and Makerspace. Here, people work on bikes, electronics, and small appliances. There are other repair reuse groups around here, such as Restore, the Tool Lending Library, Computer Recycling Center, Green Linux Building Materials, and Woodwork. There are all ways we can reuse materials, which helps us on many levels. Our best method for reclaiming the energy of consumables is through composting. Composting is the use of organic materials to return life-giving nutrients to the soil. It's a circle. This process completes the circle of life, and it's been with us for millennia. Recently, we found further application for compost. Okay, there's two levels of compost. Grade A is all food, and you use that primarily, boil it to 100 degrees to kill the bacteria, and then you can use it to feed animals like hogs. Feed people first, give food to people who are hungry. Second, feed animals. Then we can talk about compost. Grade B is also the food, but it also includes yard waste and paper. There are over 800 waste-to-energy systems around the world. These closed systems use anaerobic digesters to convert organic waste to biomass fuel, which is carbon neutral. We're going to show you a little video on that now. And while she's getting it ready, I want to apologize you ahead because of the commercial nature of it.
As a nation, we need to transform as much of our organic waste into green energy as possible. But in the UK alone, 50 million tons of food is thrown away every year. Of this, 2 million tons is made up of things like potato skins, fruit peelings, and byproduct from food manufacturing. If this food waste ends up in landfill, it decomposes and produces methane, a greenhouse gas that's 25 times more potent than CO2. At Leaning Bar, North Yorkshire, Veolia is closing the loop and putting circular economy principles into practice. Leaning Biogas is an anaerobic digestion plant, which takes byproduct from food manufacturers and converts it into energy and fertilizers for agriculture, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. So how does it work? Every day, tankers arrive and deliver byproduct, which is pumped into a reception tank and then a digester, where it stays for around 40 days, monitored all the while by a team of lab engineers on site. In the digester, microorganisms break down the byproduct into methane-rich biogas. This process is called anaerobic digestion, and it works in the same way that the body burns calories for energy, but on a much larger scale. The process captures a biogas, which consists of 60 to 65% methane, that is ideal for renewable energy production by fueling a 500 kilowatt biogas combined heat and power engine. This provides electricity and heat for the plant, and surplus electricity is exported to the national grid. But at Leaning, we've gone a step further. Our biogas is cleaned and upgraded to almost 100% pure methane, suitable for injection into the gas grid. As a result, Leaning has the potential to produce enough gas to power over 3,000 local homes and businesses. Once more, nothing from Leaning goes to waste. After digestion, the byproduct is pasteurized at 70 degrees C for 1 hour, with leftover digestate returned to land as nutrient-rich fertilizer. At Veolia, we believe innovative solutions like the Leaning biogas plant will be part of a waste-free future. A future where discarded resources are turned into valuable products and clean energy. We now have over 80 biogas-fired combined heat and power plants in operation in the UK, and the specialist expertise to go with them. A smarter, greener, cleaner world needs circular thinking.
And again, I'm not promoting Veolia. That's just a really good video to explain this. So you see that after the fuel is removed, the remaining mash can be used for compost, but there's a further application as well. It's called carbon farming. Carbon farming is the practice of returning carbon back into the ground where it belongs. A single application of ½ inch of compost over grazed, not virgin, not plowed, grazed land, where the hooves will tear it up, will increase soil water capacity to 26,000 liters per hectare for 30 years. Compost decomposition provides a slow release into the soil, which with improved water holding conditions leads to an increase in plant growth. More plant growth increases the amount of carbon that is sequestered back into the ground. We're going to have a farmer on this next video who will explain it to you quite well.
My name is Passion Murray, and I make compost in the city of Detroit. I want to share with you a story about soil, farming, and compost, and how it can be a solution for climate change. Climate change is a big problem. It's happening because there's too much carbon in our atmosphere, but carbon is not our enemy. It's the building block of life. Everything alive is made of it. It's us. The problem and the solution are a simple matter of balance. Let's step back and look at the 5 pools where carbon is stored on planet Earth. Starting about 500 million years ago, when plants came onto land, carbon began to cycle in an amazing balance, a balance that allowed for life as we know it to evolve. Then one life form, us, figured out how to extract carbon from the fossil pool. We've been burning it for energy, putting it into play and disrupting that balance. How we manage land and do agriculture is moving even more carbon from the soil and biosphere into the atmosphere. Specifically, we've moved 880 gigatons of carbon dioxide into the atmosphere, which is heating up the planet and destabilizing our climate. Now, the oceans have absorbed a lot of this excess carbon, which is resulting in warming temperatures, acidification, and accelerating a mass extinction of sea life. In order to stop global warming, of course we have to stop burning fossil carbon. The big question is, where do we put the excess carbon to get the cycle back in balance? Remember when I said that soil was a part of the solution? It literally is. Plants, with sunlight and water, perform photosynthesis. They pull carbon in from the air and turn it into carbohydrates, sugars. Then they pump some of those sugars down through their roots to feed microorganisms who use that carbon to build soil. There we go. Carbon moved. The plants pull it in and the soil stores it. Nature's living technology is amazing. Scientists have recently discovered that applying a thin layer of compost one time sets up an ongoing positive feedback loop that brings more and more carbon into the soil each year. In concert with our regenerative practices like not tilling the soil, planting trees and cover crops, and good grazing, we can build and retain gigatons of soil carbon. This is carbon farming. This is regenerative agriculture. More carbon in the ground is good for us. It makes healthy soil. Healthy soil makes for more nutritious food, and it holds way more water, so crops are more resilient in the face of drought. That's good news for families, farmers like me, and everyone that eats. The way we grow our food, fuel, and even our clothes either puts carbon into the atmosphere or pulls it down into the ground. The regeneration of soil is the task of our generation. Our health, the health of the soil, and the health of the planet are one and the same.
Okay, that's how the soil works, but one of the things we also need to look at is our food waste and how we manage it. Food waste is the third largest emitter of greenhouse gases in the world. 90% of our food waste is not composted. People just throw it in the trash, but goes into the landfill where it decomposes very, very slowly. For decomposition to take place, you need 4 things: oxygen, heat, moisture, and sunlight. When food is buried in the landfill, it gets heat, but little else. While it decomposes slowly, it does emit greenhouse gases continuously while it's decomposing. Check this out. what you're going to see is people posed with a question and their answer and the real answer. What happened in the video that we're unable to access, and it's a film that's available at the public library, that if you can get it, you should check it out. It's called Wasted. It's not about freshmen in the dorms their first semester. It's about food waste. And among other things, are we going to get it? No. Okay. Among other things, they interview people about a head of lettuce in the landfill and ask them how long they think it would take to decompose. So how many of you, I mean, you're already suspicious, I know. How many of you think it would be like 6 months? 2 months? Later next week? A year? 5 years? 25 years for a head of lettuce to decompose. 25 years of it releasing greenhouse gases. Now, anybody who studied archaeology can answer this, but how do we know a head of lettuce is 25 years old? You do what's called relative dating. If I know how old this is, I can assume anything else at that layer is probably that same age. Gophers are a problem. So lettuce in the landfill taking 25 years to decompose. How come we don't know this is a pertinent question here. And that comes down to a rub about a lot of what we do. Here's some decomposition statistics for landfills. Aluminum cans and aluminum foil take 200 to 250 years to decompose. Aluminum can also be cleaned and recycled. It does not belong in the landfill. Glass may never fully decompose. Paper creates the largest volume of waste in the landfill and is mostly unnecessary. In the landfill, paper takes 2 to 6 weeks to decompose. In a compost facility, about 10 days. The least effective, yet still effective form of material reclamation is recycling. Generally, when an item is recycled, its material integrity degrades. Not with everything, but most things. Thus, a sturdy cardboard box might return as an egg carton, which might come back as packing material before heading for the dump. This is not an endless circle. It's a slowing down of materials heading for the dump. 1/3 of all steel and up to 90% of all aluminum is made from recycled materials. Most steel is recycled domestically. Aluminum is recycled both domestically and overseas. It has to do with the weight, of course. Glass can be recycled endlessly and is recycled domestically. 95% is made from recycled materials. Then there's plastic. Conventional plastic was invented during World War II, but it didn't really impact the consumer market until the 1950s. It's made from oil. Plastic is a fossil fuel, and it is everywhere. Right now, look around you and see the plastic that we have. This room's not really bad. I have no idea about the carpet, but this one's not too bad. But You see how it's everywhere, how ubiquitous it is? Now, I'm not saying we should get rid of all plastic. I think heart valves are good things, and I'm glad when I drop my glasses, they don't shatter. But we don't have to be everywhere. There's a lot we can do without it. Check out 1939's Wizard of Oz sometime. Munchkin Land was made without plastic. We use it casually and to our peril. The amount of plastic produced each year is jaw-dropping. Half the plastic ever made has been made during this century, 20 years. The Plastic Industry Association plans to triple the amount of plastic they sell in 2020. Most of it will be used for unrecyclable packing material. Think of this next time you order something from Amazon. In the last 70 years, discarded plastic and microplastics have created 5 giant gyres, swirling clouds of barely submerged plastic in the Indian, Atlantic, and Pacific Oceans, we hope. We don't hope that happens, but we're hoping the video. You'll probably hear this a lot this week. Gee, I don't understand. It worked when we did it at home. You know. Okay, good.
Our oceans are driven by 5 major circular currents, or gyres. These are created by the Earth's rotation and the resulting predominant winds. Each continent is affected by these massive systems. They collect waste flowing from our rivers and coastlines, and over time, anything floating within the gyre will eventually move towards the center of the gyre. Here, where the daylight never reaches, the eddies and currents have collected scores of plastic bottles. This plastic could remain here forever.
Garbage thrown away in the United States can make its way to Antarctica. Plastic in our coastal waters is pulled into the center of massive wind-driven, churning circular gyres. Looking out over the vast expanse of clear, sparkling water, there is no plastic in sight. There is no floating island of plastic. What exists is far more insidious. What exists is a kind of plastic smog. These tiny pieces of plastic that are floating on the surface of the ocean come from larger pieces. Over time, the sun's ultraviolet light, ocean wave action, and salt break it up into smaller pieces called microplastics. Microplastics have rough, pitted surfaces. Waterborne chemicals from industry and agriculture stick to microplastics, making them toxic, poison pills.
You can't possibly filter out these tiny particles from the entire ocean. You can't filter the entire ocean. I feel the emphasis needs to immediately shift toward stop putting it in.
These aquatic tornadoes of plastic contribute to the rise in sea temperature, which in turn causes hurricanes to blow harder. 2019 set a new record for ocean temperature rise. 8 million tons of plastic enter the seas annually. Smaller plastic whorls have been discovered in inland waterways. Microplastics have been found in the guts of fish. Albatross chicks, oh good, it worked, are fed plastic by their parents who mistake it for food. This, of course, kills the fish, further endangering the species. Now, recently, about a year and a half or so, scientists have discovered nanoplastics, particles less than 100 billionth of a meter. At this size, they can penetrate cells and are doubtless in our bodies. These microplastics are now coming down in rain, even in pristine locations like the Rocky Mountains, and in the sea salt we put in our food, because plastic never really goes away. We can no longer recycle plastic like we used to. It used to go to China. Well, 2 years ago, China changed their standards from 5% dirty per ton to 1%, then 0.5%, and now they no longer take it. Bangladesh and Indonesia have taken up the slack, for now. I think the writing on the wall is pretty clear here. We gotta quit using plastic everywhere where it isn't essential. One-time use is not enough. I work as a greener for a company called Green Mary. We reduce the climate change impact of events with zero waste practices. First, we meet with the producers and vendors and suggest what they should use to keep their event as green as possible. Then during the event, we set up 3 trash cans per station, a large one for compost, a large one for recycling, and a much smaller one for landfill. We monitor and sort these cans during the event. You can't just set them up and walk away. We spend most of our efforts educating all those we encounter. I mean, my goal is to be put out of work by everyone disposing of their trash appropriately. We now are going to be charging events for their carbon offsets. This is new and I'm really pleased with it. And donating the money to the Sonoma County Climate Center. We take leftover food and discarded clothes to people in need. And from what you've seen on the food, you understand why we're taking it instead of landfilling it. So I see the practices people use firsthand, not theoretically, but what they're doing on the ground. And 2019 was notable because at both the Sonoma Harvest Festival and Hardly Strictly Bluegrass in San Francisco, there were no plastic water bottles for sale. Instead, festivals provided cans of water. At Peacetown and Sebastopol and the Windsor Town Green summer music shows, glass and metal cups have replaced plastic ones. Heck, they even use metal silverware at Peacetown. They wash it and reuse it. Coffee shops in San Francisco are no longer providing to-go cups. I mean, you can buy one that you can reuse over and over, but no more disposable. So as you see, some of the changes needed for survival are happening, and they're happening swiftly. Consider, I hope. I want you guys to see this one, so we're gonna wait. It's right after Mary, if it works. No, up from there. If you can't find it, right after that. Okay. It's this, which I'm sure you can't see, so let me read it to you. Oh, you got it. Good, 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 good. Read along. It's pretty amazing that our society has reached a point where the effort necessary to extract oil from the ground, ship it to a refinery, turn it into plastic, shape it appropriately, truck it to a store, buy it, and bring it home is considered less effort than what it takes to just wash the spoon and put it away when you're done. One thing to consider with recycling is net carbon gain. For example, buying an electric car is a gain as you've gone from non-renewable fossil fuel to renewable electricity. However, how much carbon was expelled making that car? Was it comparable to the fossil fuel car? Is it worth the financial cost of a new car? All of these carbon costs need to be deducted from your gross carbon saved to find out what your net carbon gain is. Naturally, most of the necessary changes need to come not from us, the consumers, but from the producers. They deal the cards, we play them. And I want to shuffle. I want to reshuffle right now. 100 companies are the source of 70% of greenhouse gases. The US oil and gas companies have announced that they intend to release 120 billion tons of new carbon into the atmosphere over the next 30 years. They are trying to kill us. This is the largest burst of new carbon emissions in the world. We need to focus on making them change their practices or retire. When the plastic industry announced they intended to triple the amount of plastic they'll make, they declared war on life. There's nothing to discuss here. We need to act, and we need to act now. Don't you love capitalism?
For way too long, the politicians and the people in power have gotten away with not doing anything to fight the climate crisis. But we will make sure that they will not get away with it any longer. And we are striking because we have done our homework and they have not. Some say that we are fighting for our future. But we are not fighting for our future. We are fighting for everyone's future. And we will not stop until we are done. Thank you.
We need to focus every inch of our being on climate change. Because if we fail to do so, then all our achievements and progress have been for nothing. And if you still say that we are wasting valuable lesson time, then let me remind you that our political leaders have wasted decades through denial and inaction. If I were in charge, I would tell the truth, the emergency of the situation, and what we need to do, and what we need to do to try to save what can be saved. Because most people I talk to, they don't have even the basic knowledge about the climate crisis. They don't know what the healing curve is. They don't know what the albedo effect is. And that is absurd that people don't know these things.
Not trying to promote heroes, because heroes are easy to shoot down. Trying to promote movements. And if one person is the spokesperson for the movement, that's what we're doing. We need effective strategies to win this war. We're stronger when we come from a place of empowerment and not a place of fear. Now, there are strategies that include arson, kidnapping, and targeted acts of terrorism. I'm not going to speak of those. I'm not the person you need for that. I do agree that the situation is that serious. So I'm going to present you with some of the many nonviolent forms of strategies that we can use. Find one that fits you. Some people think the most effective strategy is to petition government to act. Their tactics include petitions, attending public meetings, writing letters to members of government and local newspaper, meeting with members of government. These people will be polite and understanding. They think that once government knows of the problem, they'll act on it. These are people who believe the system works. Now, related, though a little bit less polite strategy is permitted marches and rallies. Here, organizers work with local government to create a safe environment for people to express their First Amendment rights. By using the permit process, organizers have the cooperation of the local government, and it creates a safe environment for participants. This can be an important first step in a person's radicalization. Lots of information and networking can happen at these events. The corporate media might even cover it if you have enough people. On the other hand, because these marches are safe, they do not threaten business as usual, and we need to stop. business as usual. One step beyond are unpermitted marches, rallies, and flash mobs. When Reverend Billy's people took the stage in that earlier video, they didn't ask anybody's permission, they just took the stage. Unpermitted marches, rallies, and flash mobs. Cops don't like them because they can't control them. This militancy empowers participants. Now, these events can end with arrests, planned or otherwise, especially if protesters block streets, businesses, or freeways. Property destruction generally works against us and is not advised. People, especially the corporate media, will focus on the property destruction, not on the purpose of the march or rally. It detracts away from our purpose. One place where flash mobs actions worked well was in the villages surrounding the Scorsese Forest in Greece. Here, a Canadian mining company, Eldorado Gold, was planning on clear-cutting the forest. When villagers found out, they organized. People kept an eye out for the heavy equipment coming down the road. There was somebody in the church bell tower at all times. When they spotted vehicles advancing, they rang the church bell and everyone turned out to block the road. Word of their action got out beyond their village, and it's always important that it goes out. They began receiving support from all over the world, and the mining permit, it got pulled. Occupation is powerful. Father Frank Morales from the Bowery points out they can ignore you if you picket outside of their offices for fair housing, but if you occupy the house first, they have to deal with you. We've seen this play out in Oakland with Moms for Housing versus Wedgwood Properties. They not only retained their home through occupation, but they educated people that one of the culprits for the housing crisis, at least in Oakland and probably everywhere else, is investment bankers, because there are 4 times as many vacant homes in Oakland as there are unhoused people. They do this so they can make more money. Now in Germany, beginning in 2012, people began occupying the 1,200-year-old Hambacher forest to protect it from clear-cutting planned by a coal mining company. They built elaborate tree houses and stayed there for 6 years. 6 years. Shortly after the occupation ended, Germany began drastically cutting back on its coal extraction. Up one. That's there.
Tree house in Hambacher Forest. My name is Indigo. We are here in a tree house in Hambacher Forest. This forest is occupied because RWE, a big energy company, is trying to cut it down to dig lignite coal and to burn it. It's one of the dirtiest sources of energy that we are using. It produces an enormous amount of CO2, and actually the mine and the power plants here are the biggest CO2 source in whole Europe. So some activists try to stop it with occupying the streets here.
How does it feel to see things cut down?
It's extremely painful to me, but still I see that in so many ways we are also gaining ground here and that we are winning so much. There are thousands of people coming here every day for demonstrations, and there are so many people that start to open their eyes now, and I think even if this forest has to fall, it can be the start of a movement for climate justice, and I'm really grateful to be part of this movement. If I wouldn't have hope, I wouldn't be here. Yeah, as you say, I think we are on the right side of history.
I hope you can see the house. It's one of several that were there. They're really nice. And I don't know whether, yeah, you can't see it in the video. They put ropes under the wood so that when they left, they take the ropes down and there's no nails in the tree. Yeah, they're being respectful. Another tactic that works is public shaming. Now, this works on the capitalist who can feel shame. I wouldn't bother with Donald Trump. But if you have a progressive public image to maintain, ooh, we can use that. When people began protesting Jamie Dimon of Chase Manhattan for his company's investment in kiddie prisons, he withdrew the investment. He was ashamed of what he was doing, didn't want people to know about it. Shaming works. Economic boycotts work on many levels. Not only do you stop paying for your own destruction, but you're forced to find alternatives. If I don't want to wrap my food in plastic film, then I might use reusable, compostable beeswrap instead. If I don't want to buy gasoline, I might buy an electric car, ride a bike, take public transportation, or walk. If I want to end dependency on oil and gas extraction, then I want to invest in solar, wind, and wave. Boycotts work. They hit the capitalists in their hearts, which they keep in their wallets. A capitalist will sell you the rope to hang him with if he thinks he can make a profit. Please visit our table in the back there and avail yourself of flyers. We've got some beeswrap samples that you can take home, use, and reuse. And if you can, please come to the Climate Summit on March 15th. We have a few flyers here about that. It's free, and it's a chance to hear multitudes of activists, including people from the Sunrise Movement. Research your targets. Where is SSU invested? Are your student fees paying for your early death? If so, you might want to organize with others for change. Now, once you have an us, pick a strategy that fits you and act. Now, today, like the house is on fire. Thank you. I have no idea what kind of time we have left because of the technical brouhahas. But if y'all have any questions or comments, I invite you to either mic until we're told you're taking too long or until I see another group coming in. Okay, doke? Howdy.
Hello, everybody. My name is Marion. I'm president of Students for Sustainability Club here on campus, as well as a part of the Sonoma County Climate Strike Organizing Coalition. And just want to remind y'all that from April 22nd to the 24th, there will be 3-day actions here in Sonoma County, going from strikes, our Stop the Money Pipeline campaign. If y'all didn't know, Chase Bank is one of the leading companies funding fossil fuels. And so if you have an account with Chase Bank, I would highly recommend that y'all consider switching over. But if y'all have any other questions about Sustainability Club here on campus, how to get involved with the actions from April 22nd to the 24th, you can definitely talk to me. Look out for me on campus. I'll be making sure our campus knows what's going on and that our university supports our students going to these actions outside of class and being able to miss school, because the point of action is to ruin business as usual. So thanks.
Thank you. 2 things. Before we leave, talk to me so I can help spread the word through other groups that are off campus. And please grab a flyer for the Climate Summit, because you're going to want to be there, or somebody from your organization is, to network with other people. Because I can't do boo, but we can do anything. Homo Gestalt gets things done. If you don't believe so, I will take my hand and rustle any finger that you have anytime. There is no rugged individual, there's only us. Any other comments or questions? All right, what are you gonna do? The goal here, the goal is for you to take action. The goal is to pretend that you've got hemorrhoids and it hurts to sit, and you have to get up off your ass and do things. So ask yourself, at your leisure, what am I going to do for that which moves me? Now, if there's no other, we'll give it some time, but if there's no other questions, we're going to vacate so the next group doesn't feel so hurried. So let's give it a moment or two. Yes, there was a lot of information there, yes.
I'm not actually supposed to be saying something right now, but I just want to share that activism feels so good. To step out into the world and take action feels so empowering. And so often in our lives, we feel powerless against this stuff. And to take action, especially with others, can feel so good. It's amazing. It can fuel us in our lives.
Unless there's a more suitable closing comment, I want to quit there. That was good. Anything? Okay, thank you very much for having us. And please stick around. There's other stuff coming up.